What happened with that sound guy? And I'm curious because I love bitter sound check stories.
Because he was like one of these guys that felt like his opinion was the best in the space. And it was after while we were tearing down, and he's like, well, like when you played Country Roads, you probably should really be doing side stick instead of, but do you even have a side stick? And
I don't
Eric's
even
like,
think
dude,
side stick was on that record.
Totally played side stick and snare back and forth and different. Shut up.
Having done that in my 20s, I can look at it and be like,
oh, have been the frustrated sound guy, you're saying?
No, just having been the guy that would go into a room and had to insert an opinion about someone's music. It's why I don't do it anymore. It's why I literally am the most hands-off motherfucker on the planet. But I felt like I needed people to know that I knew something. You know the people that are egomaniacs because people really do like them and they know it? You would never be able to get through to that guy because he's like, I already know that I'm talking a big game because everybody wants the big game and I am the big game. And if you're not the big game, fuck off and get off the big game, right? But then the opposite of this is a guy who probably does have a lot of people that like his music or like his talent or whatever it is. And they've told him this. So he has that kind of knowledge. Yes, people really do like my work. However, they believe because of all of the imposter syndrome that's really going on in their brain, their self-worth is so low and their idea of where they fit in a space, they do not have a healthy relationship with. So they tend to voice opinions, whether they're right or wrong, as a coping mechanism and as a survival method. Because they're like, if I don't say anything, I don't think I have enough self-worth here that my presence here and just me being me and me saying, how are you? How was your day? What can I help you with? What are we working on? I was that guy. But then there was the part of the guy that was like, I think the only way for me to do this is to Dunning-Kruger my way through my entire day. And I just want to make sure that people know that I know something. I feel like I walked around in my 20s with an inflated ego. But here's the thing. I'm not the guy that has anything to show for an inflated ego because it's not like, dude, when I show up at a show, fucking 50 people will show up like immediately and want me to play songs, right? There are people that have that kind of thing that they can literally say because they have that much going on. Now, what they do with that and whether they're a good steward of the talents that they have is one thing. But in my inflated ego, it was, I need people to know that I'm really fucking good at this because I believe I'm really fucking good at this. But we don't have a really good relationship with our self-worth. So instead of just being ourselves and going, yes, I bring some amazing shit to the table, but guess what? So does everybody else sitting at this damn table.
And that's that tricky part, right? So what you're talking about, I am oftentimes working with do I have a right to be here?
Yep.
Will I be accepted?
Yep.
And how that's changed for me is very different. But like earlier on, if I wasn't amazing at a thing, I wouldn't do a thing. But then I got to the point where I had a couple of key areas where I was talented and I would do really well and I would get noticed and I'd get accolades and whatever. Then I was on all the time and it got fucking exhausting. And then I got into this space where I was debating people, and it was appropriate places where that was the expectation of the space, right? A lot of this was in like the clubhouse days or whatever. And then realizing the value of knowing the let them thing. I haven't read Mel's book or anything, but the let them think what they think, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so coming into this space where I'm going to do a thing because it's good for me. And if somebody wants to know what I have to share, I've kind of let the opportunities to share come organically.
Yep.
Not that I'm perfectly comfortable all the time, but as I've kind of been forced to look at who I am, what kind of person I am, what kind of life I want to have so that I'm enjoying life more instead of doing things for the sake of other people, like performing. I didn't do this last surf contest partially for that last reason, right? Like I didn't compete. I step back and I do things because they're good for me. And if I meet somebody who happens to be the student for whom I'm the sensei for, to borrow from like that martial arts context, then I don't have to sell me.
Yep.
I don't have to sell my right to be there. I think there is something about what you're talking about, the people who have to give that unsolicited advice, where I have to establish my right to be here because I'm not comfortable in my own value enough to just be here, and also be comfortable with people misunderstanding me.
Yep.
And like that people misunderstanding me or assuming value is fucking huge. Because if you can let somebody misunderstand who you are and be okay with that, that's fucking revolutionary. You can walk with so much smoothness and ease of life. And now that's not every day for me, but when I get there, man, I feel fantastic.
I am not there at all. It bothers me.
Yeah, no, it's aspirational for sure.
It bothers me. I can literally say in my current mental health journey, this shit bothers me. I'm bothered by it. I'm triggered by it. You know, it's the idea of being so thin-skinned. I walk around with thin skin and I know it, and it feels cold. You know, before you were in any kind of space of healing, people would be like, you know, you always do this. Like you it's like every time somebody says something like this, you always do this. And then your response is, nuh-uh. When probably the answer is, you're right, I do. Right? Because we don't know how to own shit. But then we get to the part where we own shit and somebody says, why aren't you in LA? My response now can be, because I'm so thin-skinned that if I were in LA, I don't think I'd be able to prevent a suicide. Because I know that to be absolutely true.
Do you see any value in thickening your skin?
Yes.
Okay.
Because right now, I understand that for me to do the things that I have to do, I am too thin-skinned. We are in a spot where there is now something that is not enough. That doesn't mean we are not enough.
So one of the things that I find, this is actually the whole philosophy behind Adventure Mind, or at least a huge part of it, the nonprofit that Andrea and I have, is finding that thing where it doesn't matter if you suck at it, right?
Yep.
And then do that thing that maybe is really fucking hard for you where it doesn't matter. And then you learn what it's like to overcome in an area where it doesn't matter.
So the response to this, we are not armored enough. We do not carry enough armor of self-love for certain things, like releasing albums to a population that would be reviewing them, like critics, press. We are not strong enough. We are not emotionally mature enough to feel good about any of that, because we would rather say, you're just going to say something shitty about it anyway because it sells ads. So we've replaced all of this with nihilism. You're going to murder me.
You do realize that makes you sound a wee bit like George McFly. What if they don't like it? What if they say I'm no good? I don't know if I could take that kind of rejection.
Yep.
And I'm not saying in that like I don't love you, because that sounds like a very disempowering place to be.
Yeah, it is. That's why we're doing what we're doing in October. So essentially what I'm doing on October 4th at 6 p.m. Eastern here at Creston, we're talking about how Kevin Reeves never books shows. We don't book shows not because we don't want to play them, because we would want to do nothing more than entertain a crowd. But we are so tilted towards catastrophe when it comes to doing anything that involves selling ourselves, because now we go back to the armor of self-love, right? So we do this kind of nihilist, look, if they want me, they want me. If somebody wants me, they want me. If what the fuck, who cares? Right? Because it's a coping mechanism. It's survival. So what I'm doing in October is I'm booking a show for a singer-songwriter to come to this church. I've invited him. We've paid the deposit. And I am combining the two diametrically opposed skill sets. The thing that I'm great at and the thing that I fucking suck at. Things that I'm great at, I'm going to play 45 minutes as an opener. I'm opening for the guy. He's going to do an hour and a half. So we're going to be great. There's going to be a lot of stuff. Our drum student's going to be up there. We're going to have the harpagee. It's going to be great. We're great at it. We know this. But we're also great at hospitality. We've been a gigging musician since 17 or 18. We know what it's like to be booked. We know what it's like to be called. We're on that side of the microphone. They're saying, what can we do for you? if there's any way we can help you. And you're showing up to the gig and you're knowing how you're kind of taken care of because you're there to do a job and they want to make that as frictionless as possible. And so I'm great at this. I will make that guy feel seen and I will make him feel like $1 million. We're great at it. All of us here. We've created the Eventbrite thing. We've went through all of that. We've got our ticket sales. Oh, that's another thing. I always hate the idea of selling tickets for things like that I play at or whatever. I just can't. It's called a barrier to entry that I just don't like. But I'm allowing my brain to bend around this, that we are trying to raise money for the church. So now I can say, yeah, these are $10 tickets. Go for it. We need them. We need them. So we're getting the muscle memory of selling ourselves, calling a place and saying, hey, we've got this thing. You don't know me from Adam. I could probably be letting you know your car warranty's out and your Microsoft Windows is dead, even though you have a Mac. I could be one of those scammer guys, whatever, But I'm like, you don't know me from Adam, and I want to tell you about a thing that I think your community would be interested in. And definitely, like, in the whole queer community around here, we're getting plugged into these groups. And, people are kind of sort of knowing who we are, and they know about Creston Church, their vision and mission and inclusivity and all of the stuff. And so there's allies of this show now. I'm seeing other people sharing it slowly. And I know it'll build up more because this week we've got to call 4 or 5 different places. Like, we got to call like the Grand Rapids Trans Foundation and other spots. We're really trying to hit the people in the margins. We want to find all the groups of the people in the margins because those are the people that we want to make feel like $1 million damn bucks, because we currently live in a space where they don't necessarily feel that way. And I'm putting it lightly. I'm literally doing all the things that I hate, like marketing. I'm figuring out who my customers are. And actually, I may end up discovering that we can do this.
We oftentimes assume an ineptitude because we just haven't.
Yep.
And that is that idea of do things that you think you suck at.
Yep.
One, there's therapy in doing things that are challenging, especially when you're the one that chooses which challenge you're going to be challenged by. But also, you might discover with not too much effort that you actually have more talent or ability in an area much more so than you thought.
Yes, and there's a potential chain reaction that could occur from doing this. By booking a guy who has booked house shows and stuff all over the United States, I'm now sharing a room with my betters. So that's like the first part of this, like a guy who can really fucking do this, right? And so you're going to watch him. And then we've gone through this whole process of what it's like to book a show. And then we can extend that to other endeavors that we have, other Kevin Reeves shows. We can build more opportunity.
I'm not going to say I understand, right? Like you and I both talked about like having some neuro differences. And there is a certain element of, okay, yes, my brain doesn't do that naturally and may never do that, like whatever the thing is. I've also learned that sometimes it's how can I trick my brain or my body, or how can I do this, even if it looks opposite?
Ding.
Because like this whole idea of I was born with the give up gene. I'm not going to say I don't know what that's like. I mean, I don't know what it's like for you, right? But there's a certain element of however it gets there, you believe that you can't. You believe that you're predisposed to have people's messages of inadequacy just magnified.
Yep.
There's a path forward through that shit. I think even if that was the default setting, I think there is the ability to learn some measure of steadfastness to be able to persevere with this stuff. Maybe it's not a matter of a straight line.
Yep.
Maybe it's a matter of going around a thing or under a thing or over a thing. I don't think pressing forward necessarily needs to be this impossible thing.
You want to hear this nonsense live? Then join us every Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern on HKCRadio.com. Links to this episode are in the description, and don't forget to smack like and subscribe.